What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazique, aka Unique Mazique, the hardest working man in sports and gaming. And it is my pleasure today to have someone who I have actually been conversating with for a while, really appreciating and digging his work as a modder in primarily the NBA 2K community, but he's branched out to some other stuff. You guys, if you've heard of him, you'll know him as R4Zor. His name is Rightus Ganeka, and he is here to talk to me today about his process, how he got into this, and the whole nine. What's going on, R4Zor?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you taking the time to do this because modding, I'm going to start it off. A lot of people are not even aware that this sub community within a community even exists, right? I wasn't aware of it. And I say maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, I got wind of it and I started seeing people doing videos and they had characters that I know weren't in NBA 2K, or I knew they weren't in whatever other game. So I started looking into it. I'm like, well, how are they getting these? I'm seeing people do superhero stuff and all this different type of stuff. And I'm like, how are they getting this stuff? So I started looking. And I came across your stuff. And then and this was like maybe a year ago, I came across your stuff. I was like, man, I don't think I've ever seen anybody do mods this good. I'm like, this looks like this came from the developer itself. And in many cases better. So I want to ask, like, how long have you been modding?
Well, I started like about 10 years ago, actually. I'm 22 right now. So I started when I was 12. It's actually a funny story about when I started. I actually was playing basketball for from 6, I think. Yeah, like 6 probably. And I was playing in like a school, I think, and I got injured. We shouldn't even been playing that game actually, but because the other team didn't have enough players, but we decided to play the game anyways. So I got injured on that game, and my dad saw that I wasn't really I was mentally kind of broken because it was like my first love, to be honest, like basketball in general. So he thought that he should buy me a computer. So he bought me a new computer, which I was like super happy, of course. And it's just like I was just checking forums. Just my English wasn't the best, but I saw that people were doing the stuff on the NLC forums, which is the NBA Live Center forums. And I just picked up on it because I didn't really have anything else to do. I had a casket on my hand, so nothing else to do. Just tried it out. I was asking people what to do, what's the thing. Two of the people that I asked are working right now for the 2K, like Xiaosming, John Smith, and Leftos. Leftos started later, but he was one of them as well. Yep. So that's how I started.
Man, that's awesome. I know both Zhao Schming and Leftos, so I know that was their community in a lot of ways. They were, instrumental in blowing that community up. So they already are familiar with you, right?
John Moore, and I forgot to mention Andrew as well. Okay. He's the admin of the forum, so he was one of the first people as well that started me out, I guess, on the forums. Okay, but he's been there for a long time. So
yeah, man, yeah. For 10 years and starting at 12, man, that's pretty cool, and that would explain why your quality has gotten up to where it is. And during the course of this interview, I'm gonna actually, if you guys are seeing these images come across the screen, this is not work that's been done by the 2K developmental team. These are faces that have been done by R4Zor for the PC version. So in case you're wondering, stuff is only available on PC. You can't mod your consoles games to look like this. So actually, R4Zor is one of the biggest reasons I got 2K on PC, because I'm like, I need that. I need some of that. So I was like, yeah, this is definitely going to work. So you said you got started when you're about 12. You've been doing it for about 10 years. What is your favorite game to mod?
It was probably NBA Live 08 because we had a lot. I mean, right now, of course, it's 2K, but when I started out, it was NBA Live 07, and then I moved up to 08, and 08 had not that many limitations actually. So And of course, like the editing itself was a lot easier because the models themselves looked a little bit worse, of course, because they weren't that realistic. The engines were a lot worse, and in general, like gaming wasn't that realistic back then. Like when you look at the faces that were in games 10 years ago and compared to right now, it's like two different like worlds, you know, like it's like day and night compared. So when I started out, I don't know, I was just like, my whole process was just like looking at that type of stuff, what other people were doing, and it was kind of difficult to learn, but it was interesting. So that's how I went with it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So what are like when you sit down to mod, right? And you're about to, because there's a lot of people that do it, and there's some people that do good, other people that do a good job. Just from what I've seen, I haven't seen anybody who consistently produces the quality faces and stuff that you do. So when you sit down to mod, like what's your thought process? What's like, because I know you're doing this like full time now. So when you sit down and you sit down at your workstation and you're about to, you know, tackle the next creation or whatever, or the next recreation, what's your process?
Well, the first thing, of course, is trying to get as many reference pictures as possible. Probably the other thing is looking at the player himself. Like if it's a classic player, for example, like the Tracy McGrady one that I had to redo, and the whole process is kind of depending on the pictures, because of course I don't have the tools that 2K has. I don't have the experience that the 2K devs have. I'm kind of just like an average Joe that is just like a basketball coach that just wants to do something related to basketball, but it doesn't mean, of course, it's like physical activity or anything, but just, of course, when I started, the process was like 30 minutes. You were just like, you start on a face, you just do it, whatever. Of course, it doesn't matter what the result is, and you just pop it out. But right now, just because the games are so realistic, everyone's like, if they see something that's below average, you're probably gonna get, I don't know what the word that could be like described, but I mean, you're probably not gonna get supported, and there's gonna be a lot of hate, which, I mean, it happens quite a bit. Even right now, for me, like it's still kind of interesting for me to read some of the comments, but the process kind of becomes like 2 3 days, maybe sometimes. It, as I said, it depends. But the more time I spend, the better it becomes, like better it comes out. But of course, as I said, just because I'm doing it full time, it doesn't mean that I'm like constantly sitting and doing mods for like 18 hours a day and stuff like that. But it does depend on the pictures, first of all. And of course, what the person wants. Like if it's a personal request or something, of course, I get those sometimes. But yeah, it just depends on the player, on the popularity of the player, I guess. So.
Right, right. So what are some of the tools that you use? Because like you said, I know you don't have everything that the 2K devs have, you know, when it comes to formulating faces. And I mean, I've seen you do like this one I just saw you do was Wilson Chandler,
Yeah.
which you had said, you know, 2K did a really good job on the face, but you were able to wrap that extra texture on the neck and create that and recreate that tattoo that
Yeah.
isn't in the game. So what are some of the tools that you use?
Well, first of all, I use Photoshop.
Hmm.
That's like the main thing that a lot of modders use. It's kind of an expensive program, but there's like a couple of different ones that people choose. The modeling programs are Blender. That's the free one, so everyone's pretty much going for it. And it allows us to actually kind of do like semi-face scans, I guess. Like you can use a picture in as a reference, so you have like the model and you see the picture like behind it. So, and you can like increase, decrease the opacity of the picture. So you can pretty much just do the stuff that 2K can do. But of course, 2K, when they get the model, they get it from the cameras already. So they just put the stuff over it. And of course, it doesn't take too long. That's why, like, when you see the faces, like the rookie faces, they come out like perfect all the time. They have like no issues. But for us, it really depends on the pictures. Because if I don't have like a front reference picture or something, I have more issues, because then I have to decide how do I want to do this. Because most of the time, like the classic players that I have to do, like Kevin Johnson, Charles Barkley, maybe, uh, I have to combine pictures. Like, for example, there's a picture of a player that is smiling, and I'm trying to find a picture where he isn't smiling, but the picture is lower quality. So I kind of just try to combine those pictures and see how it's gonna look like. But of course, I have the side pictures, try to find back pictures, like different model pictures, maybe how the hands look like, the tattoos, maybe, like with the Wilson Chandler. I spent like 6 hours, I think, making the tattoos, because like, like it's so difficult to find a picture where the player isn't in a jersey, so you can't like see the neck part most of the time. But I'm glad that it just depends, as I said, the quality, as I mentioned to other people, because there's certain people that ask me, how do you get your textures looking good? And always I just say the pictures, because if there weren't good pictures, there's not, for me at least, there's, I don't know, a better way. The qualities, of course, is gonna be up and down depending on the quality, of course, of what you have for the references. And the other stuff, the other tools are just like uh, importing, exporting files, I guess. And there's a lot of tutorials on how people can start out as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, man, I feel you, and I know that there are a lot of tutorials out there, and there are things that people could do, but the way you do this, man, and the way it comes out, this is not something that people are going to be able to replicate just because they read a tutorial. For you, I can tell it's an attention to detail. Is that you care about the way everything looks, and also you have an eye for this. You know what I'm saying? And I can tell, man, there's a real talent here that actually could be transferred over, to like to working with a company like 2K. Have you ever thought about the possibilities of, I mean, because I'm a big 2K guy. I've been playing it since its inception, literally since the original 2K. I love what they do with with classic rosters, legend players, and stuff like that. But if we're being honest, a lot of those renders of the classic players are bad, right? So do you ever sit up and go, man, if I could work for 2K, I would make sure all of these legend players look spectacular?
I mean, of course, the whole moving from my country, where I live in Lithuania, the country itself is so small. Like, there's like 3 million people, maybe even less, probably right now. And the whole idea of like gaming and the development of gaming, like stuff like this, when I told my parents that I'm doing stuff like this, they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm spending like 10 hours a day doing this." And they're like, "So is there like anything that you're like getting from it?" Or like, the first thing is always like the money issues or something like that. But it was kind of like, like as I said, my profession is coaching. I had these moments where I like wake up and I'm like, when you have a job that you're like satisfied with, like you wake up, oh, nice, I'm gonna be modding today. But I had those issues with coaching. I wake up and I'm like, oh God, I have like 5 practices today. I don't want to be here, man. And it's just like, I kind of just choose that I'd rather go with the modding. And in general, like game development would be kind of nice. When I check a lot of videos actually when it comes to stuff like this. Like I even checked the 2K art guys, like what they posted, because I kind of enjoy just looking at what they do, and like looking at when they're being a part of it like for 13, 14, 15 years. And people think that I have a lot of experience with the stuff they use. I don't know, I guess not really, to be honest, because when it comes to like this modeling stuff and all of this, it doesn't matter how much experience you have, because when you're comfortable, like for example, like I'm in my house, just sitting and doing it, I don't have anyone yelling in my ear, yo, you gotta do this till Monday or something. If you don't do it, we don't add it. like with the faces and all the portraits that I did. I did like 135 portraits in like 10 hours. And I just literally was just like searching for pictures, just one done, 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 just
Yeah.
moving through all of them. And, there's like, when there's like the opportunity like this, if it would occur, of course I would take it, because I mean, I don't know about this coaching thing. It's like it's kind of difficult, because when you're a young coach, you don't really have that many opportunities. But if someone like my mother even told me, why didn't you choose like game development or something like that if you don't want to do the coaching part? But it was kind of like, free studies, or pay for the studies and not be sure if you're actually gonna be there. So kind of chose the easier part, I guess. But of course, if 2K gave me a shot, of course, I would be glad to take it. Of course, I would need to learn all the stuff that they do. But I mean, I have a lot of time, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah. Well, man, I'm telling you, man, if I had a vote, I'd be like, get this guy and get him on the Legends roster, squad, team, whatever it is. Just overall, bro, if there's no way in the world you could tell somebody that Tracy McGrady's not a face scan. There's no way. Like, you couldn't tell anybody. And it's like you were saying, you made a reference to like NBA Live 08, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, it was fun to edit because the renders were so bad anyway. So if I did something, you know what I mean? Yeah, mine looks 50 times better because of where it started. There's some renders on the Legends roster right now that are almost about that bad, and you kind of drive on the same concept. I mean, have you seen George McGinnis in the game?
Yeah, I mean, I saw Todd McCullough from the Sixers roster.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like a couple of players. Like, I think Will Perdue has like I don't know, like 2-meter forehead, I think.
Yeah. It's a couple, man, that if so I'm saying it would be really awesome, man. And I don't want to act like, I'm not a 2K basher or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm not
like
either,
they
man.
just, trash it, because that's furthest from the truth. The fact of the matter is they have the largest game out there. And it's impossible to have a game as big and as deep as they have and not have some areas that could be, improved or whatever. Yeah. So I poke fun at their small weaknesses because the weaknesses are so small. You know what I mean? I still believe top to bottom it's the best sports game out there. It's one of the best games, regardless of genre, out there. But without a question, could they use some help in terms of the Legend rosters, head scans and faces and stuff? Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, because like in my own opinion, actually, the main thing for them is that they can't face scan. I mean, like, for example, the player was like 25 at that time when he was playing in that team. He's not gonna be like coming when he's 65, Right. He's gonna look so different. Like, for example, you probably have seen that Gary Payton, on the Sonics team, he looks like he's 45 because he was probably scanned when he was older, probably. But there's quite a few situations like that where they just got a older player and just try to go with it, because it takes a lot more time. As I said, for me, like, for example, at T-Mac probably took like 2 days. It always like just depends, because of course, like, the better artists, of course, that 2K have, they probably could do it better as well in quicker times as well, as I said, from the tools. But I don't bash 2K either. That's the thing. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't even have a chance to talk to you or anyone else, or in general show my stuff in the first place. So I understand that people can get angry about it, but it really depends on the criticism. If it's not like, like when the game comes out, oh my God, your game's this is bad. I don't like this, I don't like that. But I mean, I guess people can complain. It's easy to complain, but it's difficult to fix something when you don't know what's going on inside. So yeah, I just look at it positively, I hope. I mean, what else can you do? So
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I would totally agree. Well, that's all that I have for you, man. It's actually been a pleasure and just totally enlightening for me to talk to you. And I hope that if there's someone out here who wasn't aware of the modding community, the talent that many of these men and women have, specifically R4Zor, that now they are now also enlightened. And did you want to let us know where, because I know you have a YouTube channel, Twitter account, let us know where everybody can see your stuff moving forward. And of course, I feature your stuff as well in videos too. So,
well, for YouTube, it's just youtube.com/R4Zor. So it's like the easiest one. The Twitter, it's at Razorbacks. I couldn't get R4Zor, so I went for the Razorbacks. NLC, it's R4Zor as well. I think Operation Sports, it's R4Zor. And Instagram, I just made it like a month ago, got hacked on like the second day. So it was a pretty fun experience. But it's modder-R4Zor. And in all the like different social medias, I post like a lot of different stuff, like on Reddit as well. I don't even remember what my Reddit is, to be honest with you. Let me check actually. I think it's R4Zor Mods. So I'm all over the place. So if people want to check, they can easily just find me through YouTube or Twitter. Easiest way, probably.
right. And in R4Zor, the A is substituted as a 4 there, right, instead of the A.
Yeah, because when I first was like thinking of a username, I was thinking of my father actually looked like R4Zor Mon. You know, the guy from the wrestling.
Yeah, that's my guy, the bad guy.
Yeah, so when he was younger, he kind of looked like him. So I was like, dude, I gotta check on this. And I was like trying to type R4Zor, but it was locked or used already by someone else. So I just typed a 4 and I just went with it. I don't know. Just, I guess that's how it is.
That's good. I like that. I like that. But all right, man. As I said, I appreciate your time. Appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak to you and allowing us to learn a little bit more about the modding culture. And we'll stay in touch, of course.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
I'll be weak. I'm rather unique.